This is Create the Next from ProCFO Partners, where every week we explore strategies and ideas for financial management and growth to help today's businesses put their financial picture in context.
Welcome back to Create the Next from ProCFO Partners. I am Chris Bintliff, and I'm joined today with a client story from Harold Lueken. And Harold is with Starlite Media. And Starlite creates premium high-impact digital displays. So I guess, Harold, those really cool sort of LED displays we see outside of grocery stores or malls or sometimes in parking lots and things like that. Is that right? And then there's an ad network that connects to that. Welcome to the show. It's great to meet you. And tell us a little bit more about Starlite.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Good to be here. We started out as a static sign company, and we currently have about 10,000 static signs throughout the United States, mainly in the top markets at supermarket anchored shopping centers. And so those are the choke points in the communities. And in terms of the shopping center, and then the supermarket is the choke point within that shopping center. We started converting our highest volume locations to digital signs. And actually, it's not LCD, it's LCD, which is the higher end. It's kind of like your television quality. You do full motion. Because with the LED, when you get closer to them, within a few feet, you can see the pixels. So you can't see that on a billboard, but you can see when you're close. And so our signs are at the entrances and exits where people walking right up and looking at themselves sometimes because they can actually do photos of themselves and see it, and they want to look good. So we've now converted to 178 digital signs, LCD, and they average around $30,000 each, all in with shipping and installation. So these are pretty expensive units. Our advertisers are the top companies in the world. Apple, Facebook, Google, automotive, entertainment. Obviously, the products and services that are sold at or around the shopping center are probably our major clients.
Very interesting. I'm really interested in this transition from the static signage to something very different, very immersive, obviously more expensive. And so I imagine that a lot in your kind of supply chain needed to change. Talk to me just a little bit about that transition. Where was the strategic kind of imperative behind that? When did the light bulbs go off that said, hey, we got to think about something different here? And how did that change just the approach to business for you?
Yeah, well, it really changed when technology caught up with the idea. You couldn't do it 15 years ago. The technology was not there. So the technology caught up, and the prices for the units came down enough, and where the quality of the cameras, of the displays improved, and now there are cameras as well that can track on an anonymous basis gender, age within a few years up and down, dwell time, and so basically it's becoming the outer net, and that's what it's being called. The term came out of I think Singapore a few years ago, but that's really it. The internet is pretty much full. And now this is something that, it's at the high traffic locations where you can't turn it off. There are no ad blockers. And frankly, because of where they are, it can't be anything too extreme, one direction or the other, right or left or anything risque, because it's a family friendly, situations. So it's kind of mainstream media and information.
What do you think your clients love most about? Is there sort of some analytics that can be received from it that then help them make much smarter decisions than the old way of saying, well, foot traffic is about this and we think that and we've measured this? Or is it just this kind of dynamic storytelling that we're able to do with motion and movement and things like that?
Well, Chris, the stuff that you just you talked about at the beginning of that question, they're moving in that direction. How to use that data, because they're not used to it yet. But right now, we're selling the space on our digital screens through programmatic means, and that's the same way that advertisers buy 85% of advertising on Facebook or Google. Okay, it's only 5% right now from out of home because they haven't figured out yet how to use that data that you're talking about. And they're working on that. And that's where we think the big explosion in our business will be when programmatic goes from, just like the way it was for Facebook 10 years ago, it was 5%. Now it's 85%. We're currently at 5%. And we think we'll go up to at least 50%. Now that's going to be the exciting thing for the advertisers, how then to use that, the programmatic buying that will have the data. And that's what they're exciting about. So they're dipping their toe in now with us and others. And the reason that makes us different is that we're at necessity, in effect, necessity media, necessity shopping locations, which really was borne out by the pandemic. In fact, we had, it was very sad. I went to some of our centers, and the unit is there by the entrance of the supermarket, and you had 40, 50 people standing in line, going in 10 at a time every 10 minutes, standing in front of the sign. I was not happy about that in terms of society and what have you, but in terms of the advertiser, you can't get away from it.
Interesting. And it's interesting to hear you talk about the future, where it's headed, especially as you point out, the internet advertising is changing so much. This outer net presents horizons we haven't even necessarily dreamed of yet, and it's going to be really interesting. I bet that's exciting for you to feel like you're right on the threshold of some really powerful vectors going up and to the right.
Yeah, well, that's why I stuck around with it, and I'm excited about it, and why we've attracted really good talent in the company, and that's where Jeff Franklin has been extremely valuable in putting this all together, because things are moving so fast with the company. And we're now fundraising because these units are expensive. We're out to raise another $50 million for more units. That's where, Jeff comes in, and ProCFO, because we just don't have the bandwidth. And, to bring someone in and to hire them and go through all that HR stuff, it's much easier and better and efficient to do it on the fractional, way.
Well, I couldn't have planned that segue better myself. So is that what brought you first to the fractional CFO kind of effort, or to ProCFO Partners? Was we really need to move quickly. We need to scale quickly. We need help quickly. We don't have time to onboard. Was that kind of the friction that was causing us to look for a fractional assistant?
Well, I'd like to say that we thought about it ourselves. It was a major bank that we were in discussions with, and they wanted to get additional information from us, and we just didn't have the bandwidth to provide it to them, because we're dealing with payables and receivables and what have you. And they recommended Jeff Franklin, and I reached out to Jeff, met him in person and over the phone as well, obviously a few times, got comfortable, and then he obviously works through ProCFO, and so we went down that route, and it's been fabulous. We couldn't be where we are right now without him.
That's pretty exciting. So Jeff Franklin, one of the ProCFOs at ProCFO Partners, when you connected with him, you had expectations, I guess, or needs that maybe were in your mind kind of well understood. The bank is looking for this, or we need this. Has he exceeded those sort of initial parameters for you? Or when you talk about we really couldn't be where we are without him, give me a sense for what some of that has meant that's new or different for you.
Yeah, we just don't have the bandwidth and the expertise. For example, we have not yet been audited. And so now with this next round of financing, we've raised, I think, $30 million. It's already gone into the company, but our financials have not been audited. And when you go to that next tier of financing, that's what they require. So, we had to hire a major accounting firm, and then have them start, which is first called a review. And so Citron Cooperman is the firm that we hired, and Jeff is handling that relationship and it takes 2-3 months for them to conduct a review of our financials. And we're probably about 2 to 3 weeks away, but we then need that final report from them to give to this next round of lenders, these more sophisticated lenders, if you will, to do the financing. And then after that comes then the full audit, and that will be the beginning of next year. And Jeff will lead that as well. But that's a lot of work going through the company, working with our internal CFO and controller as to, we need this information, that information. How do you distill it and give it to the outside accounting firm in a way that is efficient? Because if we don't give it to them on an efficient basis, then our bills will go through the roof with them.
Interesting.
So to a certain extent, Jeff also helps mitigate our outside accounting bills.
Does Jeff have some, I don't know, interesting characteristics or qualities that or skill sets that really make him a great fit for what you're trying to do over at Starlite?
Well, he tells me he's a great golfer, but I don't know if that qualifies. But no, look, it really is it's really never the organization. It's the person that you get. Whether I used to be in law and banking, what have you. It's the person, and Jeff's got the right personality for dealing with the various people in the company, and there are many of them who have different pieces of information. He's able to control the process, do it efficiently, and to do it in a nice way. Because, you tick someone off, if I get a call from someone, I get this with other situations, they hate working with someone. That's a big hassle for me as a manager, as a CEO. And, we certainly don't have that with Jeff.
That's pretty impressive. And as you're talking about kind of, you're on the verge of so many interesting things, industry-wise, market-wise, and then also you're in these rounds of investing and you're growing as a company. Where do you think 5 years from now? Where do you think 7 years from now? What's your kind of leader's vision for where you're headed?
Well, I wouldn't be here if I did not think the company would have a market cap of $1 billion in 5 years.
Wow. That's exciting. Congratulations. That's pretty amazing.
We'll see what happens with that. I wouldn't be here if and others as well if we didn't think so.
That's pretty great. Harold Lueken is at Starlite Media. They are at starlitemedia.com. Light is spelled Lite. Harold, you've been so generous today with just sharing a little bit of time about you and your company and about your relation with Jeff and ProCFO Partners. Thanks so much. And, maybe in a few years when you hit that market cap, we'll have another conversation.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Harold. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one today. Visit ProCFOPartners.com for more strategies and ideas for financial management and growth to help you put your business's financial picture in context.